Okay, Mech Commanders, we're jumping in with the Hussar in this light mech battle review. And this is an interesting machine because at this weight class, at this tonnage, often what you see is you have kind of the prototype light mech. You don't have much armor, but you've got speed, you've got jump, you've got mobility. Your primary weapon is usually a medium laser. Secondary weapons, machine guns, short-range missile racks. This idea that you're going to go out and scout and your weapons are going to kind of discourage others from following you, other light machines from following you, or depending on the configuration, you might try to get into a position where you can zap some support vehicles or mission objectives, but we're not really engaging one-to-one. And even when you have a light mech as part of a combined lance, it's going to play a role, but it likes to hang back a little bit. It likes to wait for that opportunity. The speed and the range and the distance are what protect you. You don't have that armor. Now, of course, in Battletech, a lot of great ideas. We see some light mechs that completely break this mold. They take weapons that are mounted on heavier machines, on mediums as a primary weapon, and they make that the focus. An example would be the Valkyrie, mounting an LRM 10-pack and a medium laser. Or we look at the Panther, mounting a PPC and some short-range missiles. Now, in doing this, you're making some sacrifices, possibly in armor, but how much armor can you really give up? But then speed. So you're in this place with some of these mechs that mount a very, very heavy weapon or a primary weapon that is well above their weight class, but the sacrifice has to be somewhere. And as a light mech, some mech commanders will say it's not really worth it because we need that speed to keep alive. We need that speed as a recon type mech, and you just don't have the armor. So if we have this type of weapon that's a little bit more powerful, if we get up there and we aggressively use it, there's less room for mistake. Well, this machine combines both of those and does it somewhat successfully. I say somewhat because, again, it's a light mech. So what we have here is a light mech with an ER large laser. That's it. That's all you've got. No machine guns, no short-range missiles, no secondary. Now, the choice of this weapon is very interesting because it has range, it has damage output. With the heat sinks, you're able to just keep on firing, keep on moving, be very, very aggressive with it. And from the perspective of not having a backup weapon or secondary weapons, is that really necessary? Because we're going to be looking to use the massive range and the massive punch of this weapon to stay at range. And if we do get closer, that means the engagement is very close. Light mechs don't really have the armor. That's kind of my take on that. Not to say as a locust, I'm not firing my machine guns or wasps and stingers, machine guns and short-range missiles, but the focus is the primary weapon. And the primary weapon for this mech is that ER large laser. Now, you haven't sacrificed speed. The mech techs, they've done it. This is a fast machine. What has been sacrificed is armor. It has even less armor than many machines. But given the fact that you can dance at a very long range, especially as it's pushed out with the ER large laser, that is often more than enough to protect the machine, right? We see this with a traditional light mech, where I'm going to stay as far away as possible, meaning I'm probably at long range, maybe medium, but medium to long. So this way, when you're shooting at me, not only are you stacking the movement modifiers of my mech, you're stacking the range. That's what keeps me safe. But am I really hitting? I've got one shot, right? I've got a medium laser or I've got missiles. I've got one shot with these other light mechs. With this machine, the ER pushing out the range means you can stay at ranges or even for some machines out of range be firing. It still is only one shot. But again, we're talking about a light mech here. We don't really have redundancy of multiple weapons across most light mech platforms. That combined with the speed, the punch, the hitting power, this is a very, very interesting machine. Tactically, it's an excellent recon machine. And I say that because a recon mech, we want the speed. I want it to be fast. I like a recon mech with some hitting power, some long-range hitting power, because you never know. Is my opponent going to send something after me and I can zap a little bit? On the way in, are there some long-range targets that maybe for a round or two, a turn or two, I can take a couple of shots and maybe get some side armor on vehicles if it's combined arms, or weaken some support vehicles? That's a possibility. So it's not just recon, spotting, dancing around, running and jumping. It's also being on the offensive. As part of a lance, this machine takes a safe, aggressive role. What I mean by that is if I have part of a lance, of course we're going to stick together, but then once we engage another lance or another battle group, there's the possibility to protect this machine, to keep it up, to pull it off further and have it operate from the side or rear a little further out, still be able to support, still be in range, keeping it safe, right? Keeping my initiative up, but at the same time, maybe pulling off another opposing lance mate or an opposing support unit to try and engage, increasing the effectiveness of my lance. Because again, I've got that range and I've got that hitting power. All at a low, relatively low battle value. A very, very interesting and effective machine that, as well as it can be, as best as it can be, combining the speed of recon and the hitting power, possibly well above its weight class, into, for the primary weapon, as a medium mech.